What is going on, everyone, and welcome to my review of Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, full disclosure, these games have been a massive part of my life for about half of my life. I'm 18 now, and the first game came out when I was 9, and I've been playing it ever since I was 9. So this is basically a movie that I've been in anticipation for half of my fucking life. I really love the games. They're so much fun. I recently played them, a couple of them again recently, just for funsies. And I still really like them. They've got their problems. They are just small indie games after all. But they're very charming, they're very creepy, and yeah, no, I really love them. So Five Nights at Freddy's is directed by Emma Tammy, and it stars Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Lail, Piper Rubio, and Matthew Lillard. And the story follows a troubled young man named Mike Schmidt, who is still reeling from this tragedy that happened when he was a young child, and he's just not been able to get past it. He reluctantly takes up a job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to help support him and his younger sister, but during his first night working as the security guard, he discovers that not everything at Freddy's is as it seems. So again, as I said, I'm a big fan of these games, so this review is obviously going to be biased. I'm going to be just biased towards this movie because of how much I love the games and just how much I've hyped it up. This has been my most anticipated movie of the year, I think I have to say. I saw it opening night in a packed theatre, and the whole day before I saw it, I was just thinking, tonight's the night. I'm going to see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And I was just so excited, and I left that theatre absolutely buzzing, because this was just everything that I wanted it to be and more. So let's get into it. Now, I'm going to do things a bit differently. I'm going to talk about the things I don't like first, because I just want to get all the negative stuff out of the way and then just focus on everything that I love about this movie, because this movie does have its fair share of problems, as you would expect it to. It's a video game adaptation by Blumhouse. It's not based on a video game that, you know, it's not a narrative video game. Obviously, there's lore and there's story as you go throughout the games, but none of those games specifically are narrative based. So there's obviously going to be some problems because they kind of have to work a way into the movie to fit story and narrative. And I think, while I will talk about that in my positive section, I do think that because of that, the pacing of this film does suffer in a little bit of, like, in some occasions. For example, the first act is very setting up the characters and setting up the situation. And while it definitely works in the film's favour, I just do think that you spend so much time setting everything up that it's almost dedicated entirely to the first half of the film. And then the second half of the film is all great stuff. But the first half does take its time setting up, and I did feel it a little bit. I did feel kind of anxious to get to the good stuff. So yeah, that's one thing that this film doesn't quite have going for it. Also, this film is edited down to be PG-13, which is both a good and bad thing, because the good side of it means that pretty much everyone can go and see it. And it's good to get people out to the theatre and watching films. I was in a theatre that was basically almost entirely full, which I don't think I've been in a full theatre since Oppenheimer, and then before that I don't think I'd been in one since Top Gun Maverick. So it's nice to go to a movie where everyone is there to see a film, everyone's there to have a good time, they've got their friends, they've got their family, they're all just really, really into it. And that's a good thing. Where it suffers from the PG-13 rating is in some of the carnage, because I do think that some of the kills are a little underwhelming. You've got some parts when it's like, someone screaming as like Foxy's running towards them, and then it'll just, just cut to another scene. But on the flip side of that, it does have some creative kills with the PG-13 rating. A lot of use of shadows on the wall to kind of get across to the audience what's going on. And I actually did think that this film pushed PG-13 in some parts. There are some bloody aftermaths of some situations. I think some of the themes that run through this film are really disturbing, as they were through the franchise of games. And I think basically, to make it a PG-13 movie, this is about as gory as they could have made it. It's just those couple of times when it's like it was very clearly edited to be PG-13 that was a bit of a shame. But it doesn't really bother me too much. And lastly, for my negatives of this film, I do think that because going throughout the games there is a lot of lore, the character of Vanessa, played by Elizabeth Lail, has a lot of exposition just sitting on her shoulders. She has a lot of things to explain. And there are a couple of times in this film when she kind of just has 2-3 minute long chunks of dialogue explaining things, when I think that it would have been more interesting for the audience if they could just pick everything up. Because fans of the games obviously already know this stuff, but I feel like non-fans would have benefited from not knowing everything and just realizing things, and then maybe on the drive home just picking all the breadcrumbs and picking up the pieces and putting them together. I think that would have made it a little bit more engaging. But now moving on to what I loved about this movie, and it was basically everything. Now, of course, this is going to be biased. I'm not saying that this is like, Oscar nomination kind of film. It's not Killers of the Flower Moon, where it's just, just intricately plotted film with really deep characters and stuff that you can just think about and sit on for days. It's not that. But this is a film made by people who are very clearly fans of the games and interested in the lore, and it's made for people who are fans of the games and are interested in the lore and everything like that. And I think they damn near perfectly succeed at making a crowd-pleasing, fun, little horror film. And going back to what I was saying earlier about there being almost too much character development and story development, I think by the end of the film, it all evens out, because once you get to the higher, the parts of the film where the stakes are really high, you actually find yourself caring for them. You're not just watching to see these killer animatronics fuck people up. You're not just watching it for that, which is pretty good, because you kind of want something to latch onto as well. Josh Hutcherson does a really great job at playing Mike Schmidt, and I really appreciated all of the kind of problems that he's going through. It's made clear very early on the start that he tries to get inside of his own dreams every single night when he sleeps, to try and remember the face of the man that kidnapped his younger brother. And I thought that was all really, really well done. I know some people might not appreciate that, but for me, I thought it's actually good that he has something that's going for him. And fans of the games will obviously know who the kidnapper is. And I think it all ties into the story in the end, and I think it's all done extremely well. He also has this other side of his character where he's struggling to take care of his very young sister, Abby, played by Piper Rubio. And she does a great job as well, but the thing that really made me the most interested in this film about her character was the fact that the child custody battle kind of mirrors the events at the restaurant. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but there are definitely parallels and things that make sense in the context of the film and the way there's stuff happening outside the restaurant and stuff happening inside the restaurant. It all works on each other very, very well. And it's a surprising amount of depth that I was not expecting, but was very pleased by. I also really liked the character of Vanessa, played by Elizabeth Lail. I thought she was really, really interesting. I thought she was well written enough. As I said, there were a couple of bits where her dialogue kind of just pushed on a little bit too much for my liking. But the way she wraps up into everything really makes a lot of sense, and it's really exciting. And I really, really like, her character. And for the casting, like, of Matthew Lillard in the role that he plays, you could not have gotten a better person. Maybe Nicolas Cage, but seriously, like, this movie and his character just blend perfectly. He loses his shit. He's definitely the standout for me, even though he doesn't have a lot of screen time. When he does have screen time, you are just enamored by his presence. I was just almost laughing hysterically watching this, and so was everyone else. He was just going full crazy, going full Nicolas Cage mode, and I fucking loved it. I also think that the overall story is a really unique take on a ghost story. I've often found haunting movies and ghost stories kind of recently to be a little bit rinse and repeat. Like, you watch a lot of the Conjuring sequels and they're very, very just generic. And while they do, like, some of the sequels, like The Nun 2 earlier this year, are legitimately really fun, I do think that a lot of them, like the first Nun and The Curse of La Llorona and the first Annabelle, are just... But this one takes it in a different direction. It puts it in a different setting. It gives the ghosts actually quite a lot to do. They tie back into the plot really well. And I was impressed by this kind of ghost story, because it's definitely different to what you've seen before. I mean, you've obviously seen movies like Willy's Wonderland, which is a steaming pile of shit. That had killer animatronics, and there was just absolutely nothing there. But this one really actually stood out to me. I was like, that's actually quite interesting, the way they do this and the way it ropes back in with the animatronics and how they're all connected to the ghosts and stuff like that. I really liked it. I also think, as I've mentioned earlier, the PG-13 rating does hinder the experience at times, but there is a lot of great kills. There's a lot of carnage here. A lot of people do die, which is nice. And it's definitely one where, like, you know, you're kind of on the edge of your seat. And as I said, some of the aftermaths of some of the kills are pretty gruesome. And the use of shadows to kind of get across what's happening without making it too explicit that, you know, younger audiences won't be able to watch it, I think it's very creative. Also, the production design and the set design and the design of the animatronic characters is so good. Like, insanely good. They look just like they do in the games. And in the games are basically just little flash games. And the fact that they made them come to life and look just like they did in the games is incredible. They have the same kind of mannerisms as they do in the games. And they're huge, they're menacing, but they're very alluring and very charming as well, which I love. And the restaurant itself looks excellent. Like, it really, it's different from the games. Like, it's definitely bigger, but it looks amazing. It's just how you'd kind of want it to look in real life if you ever saw it. The kind of just the big shining light big out the front of the restaurant, the name tag Freddy Fazbear's Pizza looks great. All like the cameras, like when he's like, you know, looking on the security cameras and stuff like that, they got some of the angles really well, and I really liked that they paid attention to the games. Like, you know, you got the show stage camera where you can see all of them standing there. They've got that great. They've got the Pirate Cove camera, which is great. I really, really loved it. I think the music by the Newton Brothers was perfect for this kind of a movie. It's very reminiscent of a lot of the Chucky music, and it is definitely like almost childlike in some parts, but that's perfect for it. It works. It really, really works. And the opening credits scene is an absolute banger. And speaking of the opening credits, I love the way they had kind of like the 8-bit games, like, you know, from the mini games from some of the later sequels in the franchise. And the fact that it's not just like, you know, just, oh yeah, that looks like the mini games that you get between the nights in some of them. It actually does kind of tell the story, and you're watching it and you're like, oh yeah, I know where that is and stuff like that. And the overall just amount of passion put into this film was amazing. You can feel the passion from everyone in it. you can just really understand that they know that this is a movie for the fans. It's not necessarily for critics, and it's not doing very well with critics at the moment, but I think that's okay, because, as I said earlier, it's not going to be a critically acclaimed film. It's going to be a film that is made for the fans, and that fans are going to enjoy. There's a lot of Easter eggs and stuff to pick up on, and it's really, really fun. And last but certainly not least, I like the fact that Emma Tammy knows what she's doing behind the camera. The directing and the editing in this film is excellent. I think, as I said earlier, the PG-13, the edit does kind of like, just cut away before some of the kills, but mostly it's really good. There's really, really intense sequences, especially towards the end, that are both humorous, that Emma Tammy made sure it was a perfect kind of balance of campy and creepy, and there's just a lot of shots that are framed, like, when the animatronics are first introduced, that are just excellent. And a lot of the lingering shots that kind of just linger on the animatronics, especially like when they're going evil kind of, and, their eyes change color, and you can just see their eyelids just slowly close over. It lingers on it, and it is effective. It's not that scary, but it's a little bit creepy, and it's entertaining to watch. So overall, is this film high art? No, it's absolutely not. But it's not trying to be. But is it funny? Yes. Is it campy? Yes. Is it a little bit creepy in parts? Yes. Is it entertaining? Yes. And that's what the overall purpose of this film was. It was, as I said, not made for critics so much, and it's completely fine that they don't enjoy it. That's fine. The team behind this knew who this movie was marketed towards, and I'm definitely in the target audience for that, as someone who's grown up with these games, even though I'm only 18. It sounds weird me saying I grew up with this, but I did. I grew up with these games, and this movie was directed towards me and literally everyone else in the theater. And yeah, that's basically that's all this movie was meant to be. It's meant to be a fun time made for fans, and I do think that some non-fans will be able to get a little kick out of this as well. Not nearly as much as someone like me, but the people behind this film knew what they were doing. They had a passion, and they made it come to life, and they did an extremely good job, and I absolutely loved this film. I'm going to give Five Nights at Freddy's 4 stars. Guys, thanks heaps for watching my review on this long anticipated film adaptation on the just fucking worldwide phenomenon that the video games are now. And if you've seen this movie, let me know what you think of it. And if you haven't seen it, I do recommend you check it out, whether you're a FNAF fan. If you're a FNAF fan, absolutely check it out. If you're not, I still reckon you'll be able to have a bit of fun with it. And yeah, let me know what you think of it. And I will see you all later. Bye.